What's up, everyone? Welcome to my corner of the internet. I'm your host, Ryan Cramer, and this is Crossover Commerce, presented by PingPong Payments, the leading global payments provider helping sellers keep more of their hard-earned money. What's up, everyone? Welcome to Season 3 of Crossover Commerce, presented by PingPong Payments. Thanks for joining us for another awesome episode of this beautiful podcast I've created, now with episode 101. Now we get to talk about triple digits, so the pressure's on. Now we've hit that magical threshold, pressure's on, but I think my guest is up for it. We're going to bring you guys some awesome insight and information today on this beautiful show. If this is your first time or 101th time, welcome to Crossover Commerce again. We're presented by PingPong Payments. This episode is titled The Athlete Mindset and Its Connection to Entrepreneurs. What does that mean? Stay tuned to find out. Crossover Commerce is presented by PingPong Payments. PingPong transfers more than $150 million a day for e-commerce sellers just like you. And helping over 1 million customers now, PingPong has processed over $90 billion with a B in cross-border payments. And to start saving money today, if you are an Amazon or e-commerce seller, you have to sign up and use PingPong today. Sign up for free. Go ahead and check out that link below. Go ahead and sign up and let them know that Crossover Commerce sent to you. A big welcome to our audience who's watching us on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, any other social media platform that we might be simulcasting on. It's constantly growing, but welcome to watching us live. Or if you happen to be watching us later on via replay or listening to us on audio format, thanks for tuning in on Amazon Music, Shopify, Apple, Google Podcasts, truly wherever there's a podcast, that's where I'm going to be. Season 1 is out there on those podcast platforms right now. Go ahead and subscribe to those and rate us and tell us what you think those first 30 episodes. Season 2 will be released shortly. Stay tuned and make sure you subscribe to those channels as well. But do me a favor, because we go live on social media first and then later on in podcast world, go ahead and subscribe to PingPong Payments or myself. You can follow me as well on social media to be notified of all the times we go live. I go live so much during the week, anywhere from 2 to 5 times per week. So you don't want to miss a single episode of content with people like our guest today, who's just going to be bringing constant knowledge and different insights into the Amazon e-commerce world. Go ahead and get notified of future episodes. Just subscribe and hit that notification bell, the bottom right-hand corner of wherever you consume live feeds, whether it's Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, or on all the platforms. So definitely check us out there as well. But about our guest, if it was just about me, that would be one boring show of me talking to a camera. I might as well be talking to myself in the mirror. But it's about my guests as well, me to pick their brain and to get you the most valuable insights that they have in the Amazon e-commerce space. But about our guest today, Ashley Armstrong is the hidden rules expert and business advisor and international best-selling author, is the go-to e-commerce expert for national U.S. media and TV. She helps multi-million-dollar companies and solopreneurs navigate proper product positioning to scale their businesses using Visual Profitability Method, the science behind buyer behavior and increase sales and conversion rates easily. She has built a 7-figure physical products business before and established an e-commerce consulting firm that specializes in navigating Amazon's hidden rules of engagement while being nominated as one of the best Amazon consultants by Seller Poll in 2020. Again, congratulations on that. Ashley, again, fantastic stuff that she's doing there as well, and actually celebrated by her peers in the industry. Her expertise has helped thousands of sellers properly position their product lines in order to increase sales, build a loyal customer base, and drive revenue. Recently has started a mastermind group for women, e-commerce sellers, and get expert advice and mentorship for their businesses. Right on. Ashley partnered with Amazon and marketing gurus Dan Holdings and consulted companies like Sustain Natural and Viome, who won awards with the most innovative startups in 2019. Company of the Year Award and Startup Award in 2020. Ashley is now doing spots and appearances on national news and media. Her articles and appearances on such things such as Entrepreneur, Business Insider, Yahoo Finance, Medium, Authority Magazine, Thrive Global, Emmy Award-winning program, the list on TV, CBS, NBC, ABC, Fox News. She's all over the place. You might recognize her from one of those shows. If not, thanks. This might be the first time you might be catching her, but we're super excited to have on Crossover Commerce episode 101, Ashley Armstrong from the Hidden Rules Expert. Ashley, welcome to Crossover Commerce. How are you doing today?
Oh my gosh, I'm wonderful. Talk about a mouthful. I'm like, was that me? Are you sure about that?
The
That
resume
is a
for
lot of
itself.
stuff.
Exactly. Like, well, you've done a lot of stuff, right? That's a testament to all the work you've been doing, both past and what you're doing in the currently, and then in the future as well, right? We've talked about it, you and I.
Yeah.
There's a lot you're
Chapters
going
of
on,
their lives, right?
right?
And
Exactly.
I'm so excited to be 101. Like this couldn't be like the better. I'm like, oh my gosh, I really better like knock it out of the park. Like the pressure is totally on.
Well, hey, it is what it is. Like for all the thousands of people that I hope are watching this and will eventually watch this, you're no stranger to public appearances and just talking about e-commerce in general. You yourself have become a self-advocate for the e-commerce and e-business industry, which I thought was super fascinating when we initially talked. So maybe like dive into that more of that detail, like that background, if you will, of why now are you have moved away from selling online and now you're doing what you're doing with the hidden rules expert.
That's a really great question. And in all transparency, I've been in the e-commerce space for a decade now, and I've really pivoted within the same space quite a few times over the last 10 years. And it's been wonderful. It's been eye-opening. And I'm definitely one of those individuals where I have a goal, I have a plan, I execute it, I get the job done, check, and then on to the next one, to be quite honest with you. And,
Exactly.
and really at the end of the day, I love my physical product company. I actually sold out in 2020. And so I will be getting back into that space at some point in time when it's the right opportunity or moment or idea. I'm not exactly sure what that's going to look like, but really at the end of the day, what I love doing is I just love helping people. I love coaching. I love bringing my visionary strategist to the table and just providing another sort of viewpoint for a lot of people. I'm an ex-pro skier, so my whole background ever since I was super, super young has always been coaching and pushing people, to their limit and past their limit so they can really achieve the goals that they want by having someone in their corner who understands, where they're going and what they have sort of done for the most part. And really with what happened in 2020, I really made it like, as you said, I really made it sort of my purpose to really help those at home. And there's not too many people in the e-commerce space that are on national media who are talking to the people who are at home, who've lost their jobs or their businesses, or they need to understand, like, how can I help myself? And if you're not in an email list, the e-commerce space, it's a big space. It's absolutely amazing. But at the same time, everyone kind of sort of shares each other. Everyone's kind of on each other's sort of email list. So we kind of like get recycled, I guess you could say, with what's happening within our sort of like network or our corner of the internet, as you had put it, where you're living. And so
That's right.
what I really wanted to do is be like, hey, I know you're at home. This is how you can save your business by selling on Amazon. This is how you can make money from the comfort of your couch. This is how you can make money with your voice. This is what you can be doing, as a consumer at home, and sort of shining the light on, you may not know about this, you may have heard about this, but these are some really great companies that you should be looking at. These are some really great opportunities that you should be looking at. That could be a side hustle, and or it could be something completely new, or you can pivot your business and things of that nature. And so I just really wanted to create that new channel, which is not a new channel because TV is an old
Right.
channel, but a lot of people aren't really leveraging it. A lot of people are spending so much time and energy within social media. And so I decided to go the opposite direction and help everyone at home and, shine a light on what we're doing in our space and how it can really benefit you as an individual and as a family and as a business owner.
Which is super fascinating because you're right. A lot of people gravitate towards social media as the terms of knowing what to do, insights in terms of getting started, growing your business, finding out about PPC, the whole shebang. We all turn to those leading experts. And again, we try to get them on this show just to kind of share it. But there is those traditional outlets, like you said, of TV, print media, radio, even podcasts in general, that we're not, I say we, us as an industry are not escaping outside of our own realm of, circle, I should say, our circle. And how do we continue to grow and be the flag bearers of this industry, and why it's super important for other people to know why, there's successful entrepreneurs and businesses that are just stemming from literally nothing for the garage of their own home to warehouses across the United States, across the world, and no one's talking about it. So when you took that mentality, where do you start? If do you start with like knocking on someone's door, like say, how can I get introduced to these places or publications, or is it just writing content? Where do you start with all that?
Oh, the media aspect? Well,
Yeah,
that's
the
a
medium.
really great question. At the end of the day, in full transparency, Super Connector Media, Chris Winfield and Jen Gottlieb, they are my PR and media experts, my mentors, my friends, and they're the ones who really gave me everything that I needed to know to be in this space. So it's like, okay, if I have something to say and I have 10 years worth of experience and I know I want to help people, how can I get my message out there? And so they're the ones who showed me the pathway of pitching, coming up with the ideas, writing up a pitch, outreaching the right and wrong way, and, really just kind of getting yourself, into the media and, as you said, print, publication, online and print, of course, podcasts, and of course, TV. And so really the last year has really just been, I'm a regular guest expert for an Emmy Award winning TV show, The List. That's, as you had mentioned, it's on all major networks. And, we get 40% viewage within the United States and 50 million views per show. And so it's really, really amazing how I just had one question and I knew I wanted to accomplish one thing. And then it just, sort of blew up into this much bigger thing where now I'm in the works of creating my own TV show for the e-commerce space to support, our industry and whatnot. So it's not the easiest thing to do in the world, but like anything else, if you don't know it, then ask, research, take a program, a course, or hire someone to help you get the job done, because there's always strategies and rules of engagement that you need to know in order to get the job done as best and as fast as possible. So really, Chris and Jen, they are the reason why I got where I am.
That's amazing. Well, yeah, it's the team behind the team, right? And I guess the major question is, if we're going to play you in a TV series or a movie, who's that going to be? That's the major hard hitting question we're asking here right now.
Oh my God. But
Putting you on the spot.
Putting you on the spot. I don't know enough people to really, who would be me? You know what? This would be a great question for anyone who's watching. If anyone who's watching and you have some great suggestions on who could play me, by all means, please share.
That's right. If you're watching, that's right. Because it's a live show, everyone watching on LinkedIn, YouTube, or Facebook, if you have a thought on who should play Ashley, send it. Oh, there we go. Oh, this is a good one. I like it. First off, we have Gal Gadot from Nita. That's a good one.
Nita, how you doing?
Yeah,
girl?
she said, "Yay, Ashley Armstrong" from earlier. Well, that's a good one. I could see that. Gal Gadot, like Wonder Woman, like that. That makes complete sense, right? So, Delphine Gal Gadot would be the best actress for you. So that's what she said. So thanks for that input, Nita.
I'll go with that one by all means.
Hey, yeah, I have no clue. I've had this game play with me before, and some of the suggestions that come up, I'm like, are you sure? Are you sure that's how you see me? I don't know if I want to take that. It is what it is. But awesome. So the title of the show, I know we can go down a bunch of different paths, but I wanted to get your input because you had alluded to it earlier. You were a professional athlete, and I say were. You've retired. You've hung up the quote unquote the mantle, the skis, if you will. Still can probably do it, but you did this competitively, and your family is a bunch of athletes. They train for the Olympics, from what I understood from our past conversation. Maybe can you kind of dive a little bit into that background and how that's prepared you for success, like now as a e-commerce seller, but also as now a public figure?
Yeah, really at the end of the day, I think I may not speak for everybody by all means, but anyone who has sort of any sports background, even if you're just, a peewee doing t-ball, it doesn't really matter what it is. You can really take those life lessons later on with you in life, into adulthood, even if you're not technically active in sports or competing, nowadays, you can really still take a lot of that information with you. And for myself, I was literally born into skis for the most part. My father was, he's the #1 racer chaser. He worked with the men's Canadian national downhill ski team. He's worked 4 Olympics. He still owns time traps all over the world. And he'd take athletes from the age of 17 all the way to the Olympics. So all my big brothers were really Olympic athletes. And, when you're around Olympic athletes, that mindset, the dedication, the commitment, it all kind of it's just part of life, eating healthy and exercising, it's just what I was sort of born into, to be quite honest with you. And then I moved over into the professional side after I was competing. And actually, while I still was competing for FIS, which is the International League, is I was teaching in the 4 disciplines. So skiing, ski racing, half pipe and park, and snowboarding, and freestyle. So it was a lot of fun,
Not a long jump, right?
Of athletes. Well, I did not do the long, like half pipe and park was as far as I basically got. And I definitely hurt myself way too many times. That's
I
for
can't
sure.
imagine. Well, that's the thing that's crazy is that this isn't something that you're just like one day I'm going to pick up, right? This is an expensive sport, like we had talked about before. Expensive sport.
Expensive.
You have to know lots of people. You have to be in a good location. You're traveling, it's not going down the street to your own like ball field. This is traveling around the world to be in competitive sports in nature, and then also to be disciplined enough to be good at it and to have those multiple different ones that you're talking about. That terrifies the living snot out of me. Like you're going down a mountain as fast as you are. I can't imagine one little slick, like one little ice patch, boom, it's all over. You see it all the time in the Olympics. It's nuts.
Yeah. I've made friends with the ambulance many a times. Let's just say
too many medical bills to count.
Well, I'm Canadian, so
and
when
Canadians,
we're in Canada,
we're
we're good to go. We don't have to worry about that part, thank God. In some aspects, we won't go any further than that. But
right.
When it comes to the upbringing in sports, again, as I said, whether you were competing at a high level or just competing in the Pee Wee leagues, it really doesn't matter. You learn really amazing skill sets that I think a lot of people either forget or they don't bring into the next phases of their lives. Like it's not necessarily just for entrepreneurs, of course, but I really do love the correlation between it. And really at the end of the day, it actually can be brought into the musicians as well. And the reason why I say that is think about when you're doing a sport and you're competing, whether it's a team sport or an individual sport, which I did both. At the end of the day, what you're doing is you are learning a skill, you are coachable, you're being coached. So, you're out there, someone's constantly giving you constructive feedback and criticism. You get out there, you compete. You may win, you may not win, you may like completely just get disqualified. And then you have to deal with those repercussions. You have to deal with like the mindset. You have to deal with like, oh my gosh, this did not work out for me the way that I expected it to. And you have to like brush your shoulders off and get back up and do it again. And then again, and then again, and then again. And so when you take that and then you go, wait a minute, as an entrepreneur, here I am, I have an idea, I'm learning something new. Hopefully I'm smart enough to find myself a coach or a mentor to give me the constructive feedback. And I'm going to go out there and I'm going to try something and it's not going to work. And I'm going to do it again. And I'm going to do it again. You know what I mean? So really at the end of the day, that repetitive, that failure muscle, which is a term that I loved, that I've coined, that I love to talk about, is the more that you flex the failure muscle, the stronger it becomes, just like any other muscle in your body, the easier it is for you to get back up and, sort of push through those molehills that, you're going to experience no matter what in life. Cause like, that's just how life works. Things are going great. And then, there's something I got to deal with.
Well,
things
and
are
you're
going
right.
great again.
You're right.
Yeah.
There's something about how you can overcome that. I think that's where you get tested as a little kid too, is when you first you scrape your knee. What do? Do you start crying? Do you start crying? Do you get up and you try it again? Or you as an adult, something doesn't go away, it kind of blindsides you. What do you do next? Do you learn from it? Or do you just say, life's out to get me and then I'm just going to move on? I think that's where you see a lot of the best innovators come to the market, not just in e-business, right? But in business in general. And that's why it just takes longer in life, why there's so many successful people that started later in life. They got shit thrown at them from the very beginning. And they learned, how do I overcome? How do I sustain? How do I get past? Where's my idea going to start gaining traction? And now it's just a lot quicker that we can do it because of how technology has evolved. Do you think that we as a society have become, this sounds really bad, has softened that aspect of that it should become instantaneously success? And if it doesn't, then we're just like, like the world's out to get me. I'm done.
Yeah, I definitely agree with the whole concept that, we're definitely a little on the softer side. But the beautiful thing is people like yourself who are allowing individuals like myself and really anyone underneath the sun who, has had a history of trying to do something and sometimes failing and sometimes winning. the younger generations, of course, they see where that person's at when they're 40 and 50 years old, but they don't look at the first 40 years of their lives. You know, like I
Right.
love getting older. It's the best thing. Like I'm going to be 40. I'm like, oh my God, everything's just starting for me. Like I'm like totally on fire right now. I freaking love it. And then we look at like Oprah Winfrey and everyone else, they're like, they didn't
Right.
really make it until they got into their 40s. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's so long. But really, you don't know who you are until then. And so you're
No.
absolutely right. The whole like, I want it now. I see you. You have this. I want that now, and I'm going to get it now. And yeah, sure. Of course, there's definitely people who are 19 years of age and they become multimillionaires. Of course, that happens. But really, at the end of the day, that's not everybody. And so looking at the path, the struggles, where someone started, and how each chapter's really compounded. It's like a compounding factor. They just, added another layer onto it that, provided that exponential growth. Because really, at the end of the day, trying to get to the goal, my mentor, Dave Meltzer, he's absolutely amazing. I'm totally going to screw this up and trying to repeat what he says, but he always tells me, he's always reminding me, he's like, you have 100% that you're trying to get to accomplish something. But really to get to the first 90% is really, really hard. To go from 90 to 95%, most people can't even do that. Like 1% of the 1% of the population gets there. And then that compounding factor, that 1 extra percent will take you to 100 basically. And I know I totally screwed that up and how to explain that, but really at the end of the day, just getting yourself almost all the way there, most people can kind of get there, but not quite. But it's the 1% of the 1% that pushes through, that allows you to reach that 100%, because it's just like you're doing all this for nothing almost for so long. And then all of a sudden it's just boom, 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 boom. It just fires. And then you're like, you're there, you make it, and a lot of the times people end up giving up in that 90 to 95% range because it just takes so long to see the results. A lot of times it's like, it's like failure is your fertilizer, which was a really amazing, thing that a friend of mine had said in another summit that I was at. I'm like, oh my God, I absolutely love that, because it allows you to grow. You're planting the seeds, you're doing all the work, and it allows you to grow. But yeah, the younger generation is not seeing, who made the fertilizer, where the fertilizer came from. You're putting it into the ground with the seeds, and then like how much time and energy it takes to cultivate, water, and grow. And then sometimes some plants work and some plants don't even give you any fruit at all, but you see a plant. Right. And being okay with the whole process. So I'm definitely hoping, with the lockdown and kids not really being able to be too athletic, like my kids right now, I would love for them to get back into Shotokan or into jiu-jitsu or something, so they can be active. Right. They can, have, that camaraderie, that community, discipline and everything else along those lines. And because they're not in these extracurricular activities, I'm just like, ooh, how much longer can we go? Like I know how important a lot of these things are. And like, that's the next generation, they're 10 and 12. So what you're saying about being a little soft, I'm just like, is it every other generation is soft, hard? I don't really know. I would love to speak to someone who follows that trend and let me know, but right. I'm definitely concerned for my little ones and making sure that they're, on point.
Yeah. My little kid is 6 years old and he's in baseball right now. And here in the United States, I mean, I think we're progressing in the right way, right? Like we're a little more lax in terms of, we're outdoors, it's warm outside, people can get out and do more activities. And with him, like there's all these, things in place, but baseball is kind of like that was my sport. If you look in the background, that's all I played when I was 3 all the way up to 18. And as an athlete, you're always trying to figure out like, how do you get one step better every single day? And like, it's amazing to see these 6-year-olds from where they started running around with their heads basically cut off, like not figuratively or not literally, but figuratively, but they're now focused where you saw yesterday, this kind of evolution of they're disciplined and focused in terms of, hey, now it's repetitive muscle. When the ball's hit to me, I'm going to throw it to first base. Or if it's hit to me in the air, I'm going to try to catch it. Or if you see this progression slowly but surely every single day. And they're doing this 4 times a week. You start to see where they were a month ago now. It's crazy to see the evolution when that opportunity is given to people. Yeah. When we apply that to business, do you think that opportunity is given to actually everyone, or do you think that let's take this for example, in an Amazon world? It used to be the Wild West, right? You can throw up any product, and we talk about this. Everyone kind of agrees. You can throw up a product, sell it for nothing, and be very successful, count your money. But now this evolution of people are smarter, entrepreneurs are smarter, brands are smarter, consumers are smarter. now you have this next barrier has gotten higher to achieve into the entry. Is that, what's kind of that like right now? You're seeing people starting to get into entrepreneurship. Is that their fault, or do you think that that's just going to really take them and allow them to be more successful down the road?
Well, really, when I got started, it was literally that. We could literally throw up you find a hole in the market, throw up a product. Within 30 days, you're up to 30 grand for one product. It's like, woo, this is awesome. Let's do it again.
That's great.
That was great. But it really, at the same time, it also made you lazy. You know what I mean? Sure. Like it really did. Like I did not have to worry about really creating a solid brand. My branding, my messaging, my positioning, and who I was helping. It was really just profitable products at the end of the day. And nowadays, there's always two sides to a coin. There's good and there's bad, or like a double-edged sword, however you want to look at it. So what we're seeing nowadays, is it as easy? Hell no. Is that, as you said, smarter people? Hell yes. More people? Absolutely. But at the same time, harder to get something done, a lot of the times also makes you that much better, because you can't be lazy about it. Where, a decade ago, you could be really lazy about it. You can do like 15% of the work and do the success, where now, you got to do like 90% of the work to kind of get to that success. And it's absolutely not anyone's fault. It's just the times, and it's like, if you're going to play the big boys leagues, then you're going to have to play the big boys rules, and you just have to follow along with it. And woe is me, and I don't like that. And it's just like, either you're going to play the game or you're not going to play the game, really, at the end of the day. And so what I do love what's happening now is everything's always going to be changing. That's the only thing that we can count on and rely on is change. You know what I mean? So embrace it, be okay with it. And so when the companies are coming out nowadays, they are setting themselves up for more success in the aspect of the exit. Because a lot of times people build something because they want to feel value and they want to feel like they're doing something great, and they want to be looked on as like, woo, you're amazing, and you did all this sort of stuff. Right. And that's all fine and dandy. But at the end of the day, the whole point of building something really is to have an exit strategy. And so now that brands have to be more conscious and more wise as to who they're serving, how they're setting up their company, what platforms they're, selling on, social commerce, and all these other breakthroughs that should be and need to be looked at, they're really setting themselves up for a much greater success, much greater success, where they will actually be able to sell their business. Where when we got started, no one could really actually sell their business. It's like either you just continue to make money or you just stop selling products and you let it fizzle out. And all that work didn't really add up to anything. It might have paid the bills, it might have had some great vacations or something along those lines, but it didn't add up to an ending that was like, boom, this is amazing. You know what I mean? And nowadays, people kind of have to do that. And so they're automatically setting themselves up for an exit strategy that really makes all the blood, sweat, and tears worthwhile. And that part's pretty amazing.
Exactly. And this is the constant conversation I have with both aggregators and people who are purchasing businesses is there's now this division of people, right? People are really good at finding a product, getting it listed, being successful, and then cutting ties and moving on, right? They're really good at finding that hole in the market, growing it quickly, and then just severing ties. They don't care about building a brand. They just know what works. They have this SOP or the standard operating procedure in place. They're super good at figuring out the markets and the holes in the market. You look at data, you look at insights, and then you can figure out basically a big problem solver. But then you have this cool group over here that you're seeing more and more people start to play with is the brand builders, right? You see people who are exiting as a, hey, now you can recognize my logo or brand in retail stores. You can exit that business, and now it means something when you say like, I'm trying to think of, for example, Anchor. Anchor was a sell on Amazon first. Now they are a multi-billion-dollar brand that was basically birthed through Amazon, and as a seller or manufacturer through Amazon, now they have brand equity. Now they have this ability to say like, you search for me, I'm going to start dominating this market. And that's the cool area that I think a lot of people want to jump into eventually. But now all these barriers are super high now. So you start to weed out people quicker, right? So That being said, who's going to be, with all these changes in Amazon, we can go, it's a laundry list, right? There's constantly changes every week or so. People are trying to keep up. How many products can I actually send to an FBA warehouse? No one knows. It constantly changes. Who's going to be the successful people that come out of all this? Is it going to be the innovators, or is it going to be the people who just have the equity in their back pocket that can overcome these obstacles?
I would like to say it's a little bit of both. I have a very hard time picking one or the other because sometimes, things can be really surprising. The innovators, of course, we need innovation in order to move the needle forward, obviously, but people who have cash flow and they have equity and they have all that, that's what makes the boat float.
With money comes power. Yeah, with money comes some power.
Yeah. So, it's almost like, I'm really big into joint venture partnerships in a lot of ways. So like when you say that innovator, the people of money, I'm like, really, at the end of the day, why don't we just bring those two together and then everyone can be successful?
Right.
That would be beautiful in the utopian world. But, the ones who are really going to be successful, of course, are not putting all their eggs in one basket. I think everyone kind of understands that now. Selling on third party marketplaces like Amazon is absolutely wonderful. It's a place to go fishing for new customers and shoppers and so on and so forth, to provide you some of that initial cash flow to help you grow everywhere else. But hopefully that's not the only game that you're playing. Getting into social commerce and, of course, leveraging social media platforms in a way that allows people to scroll, stay within the app, and also purchase is really, really important for brands to really jump into. And then, of course, PR and media, which is a big area that I love to rah-rah. And I actually saw your interview with another gentleman who is a PR, their product placement PR agency. And I'm like, yes, absolutely. This is amazing. And the really interesting thing is a lot of brands feel that you have to be really big, really accomplished in order for you to have product placement. And what I mean by product placement is TV shows, movies, publications, online and in print and whatnot. And just basically talked about, for the most part, where it's like, you see like a Coca-Cola bottle in a shot or something like that. That's kind of like a product placement. That's kind of what I'm talking about here. And at the end of the day, you don't have to be like this huge company in order to get those opportunities. And it's just another way for you to get outside the channel. We were talking about everyone is doing this. So why don't you do this?
Right.
Do the opposite, whatever. So I think the companies who are very targeted on their projects and they don't work on too many things at one time, and they pick the appropriate channel for the appropriate audience and they grow it out and they focus on it, but then they leverage what else is available to us, which is social commerce, of course. Sonic branding is another thing, which we won't get into right now, which is another amazing thing that's been happening for decades, but now is starting to come to the forefront. And interactive real life shopping as well is also coming down the pipeline, which is absolutely amazing. And just understanding the buyer behaviors have changed. And as a seller, I really encourage people to put themselves in their own shoes and literally take notes on how they shop themselves. Because a lot of the times at the end of the day, as we're too close to everything we do, I'm too close to the things that I do. I need to have a outside perspective. But as a product brand owner, it's just like, take notes on how you shop and what you look for and what made you add to cart and what made you end up buying it, and like write those notes down and use yourself as a guinea pig at the end of the day. And if you kind of pull yourself out of your company and you pull yourself out of like your hat of, I know everything about my consumers and this and that, whatever, you can very quickly realize that there are the holes in the market that you're talking about, and that there are avenues that are not helping you, they're hurting you, and there are avenues that you should be focusing on. And so, if you can kind of put those two together, the innovator and obviously the person that has the cash behind them, you can kind of take both those things, but, stay focused, down the center, I think we could find, a really happy medium for everybody.
Absolutely. No, that makes sense to me. And for everyone who's joining us again live or on the podcast, just to kind of reset everything, we have Ashley Armstrong from the Hidden Rules Expert. Again, Ashley's kind of this, I wouldn't call it cheerleader, I would call it a flag bearer of the e-commerce industry, former seller, Amazon coach, a mentor for women. There's so many different things that you're doing. I don't know how you have time for all of this. This is kind of the crazy aspect when we initially connected. You have so much in the works, which is really cool. Even working on a TV show, which is really cool to me. We've already established that she's going to be played by Gal Gadot when the film initially comes out. But that being said, So I have a question, because you're on these kind of huge publications and you're starting to get not acknowledged, you're a recurring guest on shows like The List, all those TV network shows, in conjunction with like your publicist and your companies that you're working with. What's the outside perspective of people who aren't in the weeds or the e-business or the Amazon world every single day? What's that perception like right now?
Well, I hope I'm answering this correctly. What my perception is a lot of, again, I'm going to the consumer side of things because I try to help the consumers just as much as I try to help the business owners. A lot of consumers need a little bit more education, I think is what it is at the end of the day. And that's really hard to say because we are so swarmed with content and information, especially in the last year. It's like, oh my gosh, can we now? But, a lot of times you might say, Amazon's a great place for you to sell as one example, or Etsy, or whatever platform you want to choose to be on or talk about. And you're going to definitely get some people talking about the company itself, how it's a horrible company, how it's closing small businesses, and, all sort of like the bad things. And I personally know people who are like dead set against ever spending a single penny on the Amazon platform. And it's really interesting. And I'm just like, okay, so why is that? And I love to hear what people's opinions are. And some of them could be political, some of them could be economic, like whatever their reasons are. But at the end of the day, I'm like, at the same time, especially when 2020 happened, which is one of the reasons why I really wanted to get on TV and into the news, was, okay, people, there is a lot of people, a lot of mom and pops and, kids in college and so on and so forth, who are selling on Amazon, and they're paying their tuition and they're paying their mortgage and they're paying their rent, and or they're trying to pivot their business from a brick and mortar to online so they can stay afloat. Like, help these people out. Like, you want to help someone down the road, like your local store, especially in 2020, everything shut down. I was just like, I was doing everything I could to, scream from the rooftops. I'm like, you have a warehouse. All your stuff is in your store right now. Quick, pivot, get your stuff up online, like sell it.
Exactly.
Like, if your neighbors who love to buy from you are unable to walk into your store, then get it up online, and so they can still support you and still buy from you. So, when I talk about the consumers and I let them know about that, they're like, oh, I didn't know that. I thought I was just buying from Amazon. And I'm like,
or Jeff Bezos
specifically. Really. Exactly. They have like some sort of preconceived notion that's quite negative in a lot of cases. So that's what I see a lot. And that's really what spurred me to be rah-rahing our space and being like, this is an awesome space. This is a lifesaver in so many different aspects. And if you want to learn more, there's amazing companies that can help you do that. And go there and go there and go there and go there.
Exactly. So what are those questions that like a producer comes to you and like, hey, Ashley, like we really haven't talked about this segment of the market, or you need to teach us, like, what is it about the space that people need to know? What are those kind of questions?
They don't really know. Yeah, that's a really interesting thing when you're talking, when you are the expert and you're brought in, they are experts of what they do. They're not an expert in what we do. And that's why they find those amazing people from obviously different market segments that they can bring on, that allows them to obviously get that information. So it's actually more on my shoulders to come up with the topics and to make sure that I am speaking directly to their viewers. And that's one thing that I find really interesting, especially when I'm working with, product-based businesses and we're talking about product placement, which we had just talked about before, or if you're just trying to be an expert, trying to get on TV or whatnot. So many people are like, I'm selling my book, I'm selling, my water bottle or whatever it is. And that's all I want to talk about. But the people who are the writers, the publishers, the TVs, the movies, all of the above, they don't care necessarily about you or your bottle or your trading program. They care about the tips and the tricks and the information that you can bestow onto their viewers. How can you help their viewers? And so,
the solution, the solution
for the viewers. Exactly. And it's because they're looking for content, they're looking for entertainment, and they're looking for information. And so they really rely on experts like myself to come in with the topics. But the beautiful thing is that when you bring in the topics and you pitch them with some ideas, they who don't know anything have a completely different perspective. So they come back to you and they're like, well, what about this? Or what about this? Or how can we change this? Or like, maybe this can tweak because, so it's really interesting when you're working with a producer on coming up with ideas that you hope will serve at least 50% of the population within the US.
Right, exactly.
You know what's happening, right? So yeah, it's interesting. It's not easy by any stretch of the imagination. Coming up with the idea, but then you have to write out the entire show, the entire pitch, all the information, all like everything. Like you're like basically writing a very small little movie for
Exactly.
the
Well,
most part.
right.
Yeah, and
And
then you
this
record
is
like 6 minutes of it, and it gets chopped all the way down into sound bites of like
damn
3
you
minutes.
editing. I know. Yeah, you only get like a 3-minute segment, but you talk for like 45 minutes. So who knows
Yeah.
what they're going to inevitably use? Well, that's a fascinating thing is too is what is the thing that people normally gravitate towards in that context? You're throwing all this stuff at them. What's
Yeah.
sticking to this proverbial wall, if you will?
People love to learn. That's why content is king. We know that. Like no one needs
Mhm.
to be told that, obviously. Now, content has been blown up over the last year just because everyone's at home. So what else do you do is of course, content. But people just love to learn new insight. Which is also why, having live TV or, like that everyone loved to see like, people who are like searching for gold and people who are driving on the ice patches up north and like, Alaska or something. Like
Ice road
people just love
truckers. Yeah.
exactly just love to see what goes on behind these jobs, what people are doing, because you have zero idea. So obviously people love to learn really what it is at the end of the day. But outside of that, of course, what a lot of people don't realize is that the networks are, of course, network TV. So they're slowly starting to actually get their online presence.
Mhm.
So at the same time, they have two birds that they need to hit now. It's not only the people who are tuning in through the regular TV, through the service provider that they're using, but now their online content needs to actually go viral as well. So now they have two sides of the coin. So when they're bringing an expert on, they're trying to hit all those sectors. And they're like, am I using the right keyword to have it on my title, to post it up online so people can find me, that kind of thing. And so like,
It's the Amazon problem all over again, but for content.
Exactly. So it's really interesting, and when they are titling, which I of course I have no control of what they're titling, but the ones that are like, how to, side hustles you can do from your couch, or how to start an e-commerce business for $500. Those were some titles for some of my segments that we had done. And they got huge traction, especially online, because everyone's looking for side hustles. So,
Right.
it's like that whole keyword, aspect. So anyone who's watching, I know you know
Make
about product
money
listing.
easy. Yeah.
So
Well,
everyone has the same problems at the end of the day, but people just love to be informed and learn and get inspired, really, especially right now. There's just so much mental health issues that are going on between kids and families and children and dogs and cats. Like it's amazing, like how all of us are affected. It's ridiculous. So, definitely focusing on supporting that and uplifting that is a big concern and a big target.
So do they ask you not just for the positive aspects, but also like what challenges, maybe negatives there are in this industry? I mean, again, not
Yeah.
every situation is going to be identical. Each and every single entrepreneur is going to have a different road to success or failure. You can just continue. You can actually just bottom out from the get-go and not be successful, or you can be someone who's just hit every single time. And that spectrum is so wide. How do you paint very not flattering, because the flattering, you don't want to like oversell what the industry is about, but how do you get that range, kind of whittle it down to what's appropriate for these audiences?
Yeah, every single news station or TV channel or whatever it might be, they all have their own target audience and market and what they're looking for. Some are more entertainment, some more information based. And so obviously it depends on who you're pitching. That's really what it is at the end of the day. But how do you like balance? Well, we create our narrative, just like branded companies create their narrative of who they serve and how they serve them and how their product helps them. Like we create the narrative, really, at the end of the day. We create our own authority and our own positioning. So when it comes to the information about our space, obviously we do want to have a balance as best as possible. And yes, we do shine a brighter light on the positive side of things, because there's always negative side to literally everything in life. You can't avoid it and get away from it. So it'd be naive to think that there isn't some sort of downfall or downside to something. Like, go in the stock market, it's great. It's like, oh, I got some money. You know what I mean? Like, there's always the negatives to everything. So, we do definitely try to uplift people with as much information that allows them to take actionable steps, because actionable steps is what allows you to move forward, no matter what it is, no matter where the information is coming from, no matter who you're learning from. So if we can get people to default to action, then they're going to have a much healthier and happier life, no matter what it is we're talking. You default to action and exercising, default to action and eating healthier, default to action and reading with your kids, or going for walks, or, you know what I mean? Like setting up a new, sales funnel or whatever it might be. It's just, if we can get people to default to action, then we're going to continue that momentum of moving society forward.
Do you think it's something that society will eventually take hold of and understand, just like retail? This is my perception and opinion. Let me drop something here. People are scared of retail going away because it's a physical nature. I can see it. I can see it down my road. I can see some store. Is it just because the concept of online, you can't tangibly see a business or a warehouse, or you can't walk in there physically? Is that where a lot of people you're just not going to get 100% saturation? Like, where do you think that line is, and we won't be able to win? I say win people over to our side. Does that make sense?
I love, again, I'm a down the middle type of individual. If you haven't figured that one out, I think they're both necessary. They're both necessary. Right. They're both needed. You know what I mean? So you can be a physical space as well as an e-commerce space, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And I don't think we need to really persuade or sway people from one or the other. Why can't we have both? Like, I know it's like, have your cake and eat it too. Like, that's so utopian. But really, at the end of the day, if you're able to get to your store and you're going for a walk, and I don't know about you guys, but I have kids and I got sick dogs and the whole 9 yards. Like, get me out of the house.
6 dogs? Are you kidding me?
No, sick dogs. Not sick, sorry.
Sick dogs. I was like, that's a lot. You and 4 kids and 6 dogs?
Yeah, that one works so well. But, I like to get out of the house. I want somewhere to go. I need somewhere to go. We need to have an interaction. If anything, 2020 has, taught us is just, we need to get out of the house a hell of a lot more. Like, technologies took over and we kind of knew that, but then when we really had to like fully rely on technologies, like, whoo, oh my gosh. So really at the end of the day, we need both. And I think you should play both fields. Why the hell not? You should absolutely do that. You can serve your local population, but you can also allow your business to soar by serving a larger, e-commerce population all over the US or the world or whatever it might be.
Exactly.
So I don't think you have to pick one or the other, really. And I don't think one's better over the other technically,
right?
Because depending on the model.
To clarify, that's not something I'm advocating. Get rid of all retail stores and only shop online. That's not what I'm saying. I think it's very much when you see people buying online, there's this perception of literally it's just taking away from any sort of physical nature store. Like, it's almost like the online versus the physical. Like, that's the battle, and that's the hard thing to change people's minds of. And like you said, education of, it's people down the road who are also selling online. Hell, your brand, instead of just in small Podduck like Kansas, your brand can now be visible and purchased from the middle of India or in China or in Germany. That's the beauty of kind of like what it is now that something you're so passionate and you brought to fruition, that can now just exponentially grow. Why not do both? Like that's why you get into business, right? Is to grow, to build some solution or product to help serve a need. That's why people are in business. So that's why it's hard to see why people are won't digest it or won't consume it, and they have trouble swallowing that nature. That's what I'm trying to figure out. Like, at what point is the tipping point that it's not all bad? It is good. Like, there is bad, but it can help too.
Well, life happens, and days are going to pass by anyways, and years are going to pass by anyways, and the next generation that comes up behind us is coming up behind us anyways. So sometimes it's all just about time. You know what I mean? Like, time is what, ends up fixing or updating people or whatever it might be. I know that sounds kind of lazy to say that, but if you look at other countries, they're 50 years behind a lot of the times, and you have to go through a few generations in order for them to catch up. Like, there's really no way around it. Like, they have a lot of things that they got to do, and it can't be done overnight. So time is a beautiful thing, because eventually they're all going to sort of catch up. So to your point, like, trying to educate people, trying to get them to move over, and yes, we can absolutely help and rah that, but at the same time, it's going to happen anyways, whether you like it or not. And on 100%. The flip side of things as well is, one of the elderly population was totally like unknown online. Like, you didn't find them online. Like, if you had elderly products, you didn't really do the best selling them online per se, because They don't really trust websites with their credit cards. Like my grandmother still writes checks. I'm like, come on, e-transfers. She just refuses to put her credit card anywhere. She just doesn't trust it. But the fact of the matter is because the 2020 shut everyone down, all of a sudden, all that entire generation, that whole population popped up online. And then all of a sudden they're starting to get savvy. They're starting to use Facebook. They're starting to put their credit card in because they kind of have to now. And so this whole new population that did not exist online is now getting educated later in their years. And they're now starting to use the online platforms to get the things that they need. And so the people who were selling to them now are like, oh, I don't have to go to old age homes anymore or to farmers markets or whatever. Like I can actually sell my stuff online. It's not their mom, not their daughter or the nurses or whoever buying for them. Now it's actually them buying for them.
And that's why I said that we've gone from a luxury society of buying online now to a necessity. And we've crossed that threshold. And almost everyone in the world has now understood it has to be, well, it is a necessity. Like no matter what avenue, whether it's food, services, like telemedicine, getting your goods, your vacations, like all of it can be now done online. And the people are trying to catch up, are trying to be the leaders in the space. But we need to tell grandma about ping pong to get her, if she has a business, to convert those funds with us too. Start learning about innovation with us, grandma. But anyways, I
love it.
That's my little pitch for ping pong. I'm gonna go because we're close to the top of the hour. Ashley, I have a kind of interesting question that I saw news pop up yesterday, and I like to get people's thoughts. We've seen successful business people, men and women. Now, specifically last night, actually, Bill Gates, which I didn't know they were going through this. Him and his wife divorced. And we saw Jeff Bezos this past year kind of divorced. Not that I'm saying it's a 2020 thing. But the most interesting comment kind of came up on Facebook today with a friend of possibly both of us. They were on Hirschcomb, and he like it was getting all this floods of comments. I'm curious what your take is. He asked, even though that Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates are now divorced, are they still considered successful? Yeah, still considered successful. And I started thinking about that, and I started going through the comments. And before I did that, I started thinking about stuff, and I go, well, that's a silly question in that regards. But you would be surprised to see people's back and forth of only people are successful if they don't do these kinds of events. They're breaking apart. They were not successful at their relationship. Does that mean they're not successful in general? So I'm curious to see, like, how do you take that comment in general and maybe share with the people watching?
Oh my gosh. Well, all I know is that humans and our lives are multifaceted, like a bloody gemstone and diamond, and not one thing works. You know, in a lot of cases, one thing is doing great in our lives, but other things are suffering.
Right.
It's just kind of how it goes. Like there's so many hours in a day that we can control. There's so many things that we can do that we can control. And, you know, like I obviously can't comment on people's relationships. You know, obviously it didn't end up working out for whatever those reasons are.
Right.
Does it suck? Absolutely. Is a family, you know, coming apart? Yes, absolutely. But at the same time, look at your, like, first and foremost, I don't like really commenting on other people's things per se, only because it's just like, well, look at yourself. Like, every area of your life, are you successful? Is everything at 100%? Generally speaking, it's not. It's like, well, my health might be here, or my business might be here, but my health is here, or my relationship with my children is here, but my relationship with my spouse is down here. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know anyone who has everything straight across the board that's 100% perfect, and to be able to compare like what's successful or not successful. So obviously, it's in the eye of the beholder. That's for damn sure. And what someone does in business and what they do in personal life, you know, they're two completely separate things, and yet there's kind of together, because a personal relationship is literally the same thing as a business. At least that's how I correlate it, because you both have a task that you're trying to accomplish, which of course is, you know, kind of like staying together. And everyone within the business or the company has different tasks that they're sort of obligated to do or whatever. Within the family unit, there's certain things that one is better at than the other. So they kind of end up doing that. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like when you're looking at the whole circumference, is like, is it successful or not? It's really not for me to say, number one. And number two, I don't know anyone who has 100% perfect across the board in a lot of cases. So I think I'll kind of leave it at that. And I just wish everyone well who happens to be having any rocky times. That's really what it is at the end of the day that I care about.
Absolutely. And that was, I think a good comment was Rob Stanley. He says success in relationship is different than success in business. I think that that does make a lot of sense to me because, like you said, and this is fascinating too, that they both, when they joint statement in this regards, they're both going to still work on their foundation, which is the number one foundation in the world. So they're both working together in this regards. But just like people, individuals, we all have chapters in our lives. They were together 27 years, which is fantastic. I mean, awesome. That's a chapter in their book that I think that they both look fondly on. But then what they want to do with their lives now, that whether the kids are older or business, and they kind of see like maybe light at the end of the tunnel. I don't know. Maybe they feel like that they're just on separate pages and it's not fair to the other person to focus solely on that instead of the other person, which kind of me seems like they're successful for seeing that in a relationship instead of either dragging each other through that or not realizing what the other person wants. So I see both positives and negatives from this perspective, but I thought it was fascinating. Like two of the three top, successful, wealthiest people in the world. I should say wealth is not a measure of success. It is for some people. But it was interesting to see that both come through in the last few months of each other. So I know you're a big empowerment of like family and women in general. Maybe can you talk a little bit about that real quickly before we have to hop off on here?
With of course everything that we've been going on, what we're doing, and anytime I have sort of training, I always attracted a lot of women in our space, and they just love the fact that there's another woman who looked like them, who had children, who's juggling all these different things, and who understood kind of where they're coming from. And after being asked quite a few times, I have now a women in e-commerce mastermind community, which is really a no shiny object space, which I absolutely love. And it's really just kind of like an evolving summit for the most part. It's a low barrier of entry. It's private. It's, of course, just us. And it's for women who are selling anything online on any platform, but they're really just wanting to get some answers. Because at the end of the day, we can be hit with too many strategies or too many shiny objects or whatever it might be, and we're not focusing on the task at hand. And a lot of times we just want someone to be like, hey, this is what I'm doing. What do you think? You know what I mean? Like, give me some insight. And so this mastermind is 100% dedicated to helping women where they're at right now in their business. And we do 4 calls a month, 2 with myself, kind of hot seat. And then based on what the community is wanting, I have 25 guest experts ready to go, celebrity guests as well, to come in and speak to the community as well. So we've had, pricing strategies, we've had back-end commerce conversations. And really at the end of the day, I love just providing a spotlight to other amazing experts like yourself who can come in and just be like, hey, here's some tidbits, here's some hidden rules, what's going on behind the curtain to help you guys out with what your questions are. And that's really what it is at the end of the day. It's just supporting women in this space and providing them a safe space to feel that they can be vulnerable and they can be heard.
Absolutely. Well, that's an awesome movement. I think that there's not enough of that in the space, but it's awesome to kind of shine light on that. Obviously, with all the stuff that you have going on, I don't foresee you slowing down at all. I think there's just so much great stuff that's coming from you, Ashley, in terms of what you're pushing for online. I see you popping up all over on social media, but also on, just flipping on the TV and boom, there you are. Like, there it is. Like, you're doing your job. Well, and I think, like, do you maybe final question, do you think there'll be other people in the space that really take up this mantle like you are, that will help assist, almost like it's not a burden for you, but maybe assist you in this adventure?
I don't know, but I definitely encourage it. I definitely love collaboration. I love joint venture partnerships. Obviously why, I have the Hidden Rules Network, which is for the women. I love finding holes in the market, and I love supporting and helping and really shining a spotlight on other people, kind of like a super connector, I guess you could say. So if anyone else is, wanting to sort of rah and go into that old/new channel,
making it new again.
Join me, because it's a lot of fun, and I don't know, at the end of the day, like, we have one life to live, and I'm definitely a box checker for sure. And I just like to empower, and I like to, lock arms with as many people as I possibly can to support as many different things as we possibly can while we're still here. So if anyone else wants to join me, I'm like, yeah, let's get the party started.
We won't leave you out there by yourself alone for long. So I appreciate your time. And again, check out Ashley and the Hidden Rules Expert. Again, all those links are in the show notes below. Just go ahead and click on them. Reach out to Ashley on Facebook, LinkedIn. However, you in social media? I don't know what is the best way to reach out to you, Ashley, if they're curious more.
TheHiddenRulesExpert.com is the easiest one. Absolutely. The women's is TheHiddenRulesNetwork.com. And then, we have drag and drop templates to help sellers, increase their sales and conversion rates within 3 minutes. And that's productinfographic.com. So we have a few things, but they're all found on TheHiddenRulesExpert.com. So anyone wants to reach out to me, by all means, any of my social profiles, or find me on my website.
Awesome. And great, as always, to talk with you. You have so much going on. I know this is only the beginning for us. So, and thank you for watching, Nita. Again, thank you for tuning in, staying the whole time since the beginning. So,
oh my God, you're amazing. I love you.
Well, yeah, thank you so much, Ashley, for hopping on. I know you're a busy person. Good luck with the 4 kiddos. I know they're not feeling well at home. So best of luck with them. And then obviously all the cool endeavors that you are doing. Keep us in the loop. And you're a friend of the show now, so always welcome to hop on and let us know what else you're working on, because I'm assuming there'll be more and more coming. So
I got some really cool stuff coming down the pipeline. I can't wait to share with you guys. It's going to be awesome. So yeah, stay tuned.
Well, thank you so much for hopping on Crossover Commerce today. We appreciate you talking about the athlete mindset and obviously a lot more that we covered today. So thank you so much.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Have a great day, everybody.
Bye. Thanks, Ashley, again for hopping on Crossover Commerce. Again, everyone, this is episode 101 of Crossover Commerce. This is my show. We've gone live 101 times with experts like Ashley in the field to bring you the best and the greatest insights and tips in the Amazon e-commerce space. This is my show that, again, 4 to 5 times per week. This week is a little bit less because we're catching back up. This is the season 3 premiere of the show. So make sure that you go to wherever there's a podcast that you might subscribe to. Go ahead and search Crossover Commerce by PingPong Payments or with Ryan Cramer. You're going to find us on both platforms. Subscribe to that. Give us a rating. Episodes like this will appear there in the future, so you can listen to it and just learn all the great tips and insights that Ashley shared with us today. But that being said, there's more content coming your way. We'll be going live again, I believe, on Friday with more experts. Again, stay tuned and follow us on social media. Follow myself on social media on Instagram, LinkedIn, or Facebook to be notified when new episodes of Crossover Commerce are coming up. I'm Ryan Cramer of PingPong Payments. Thank you for joining us on Crossover Commerce. Again, thanks for watching live or listening to us on the podcast. Stay tuned for another episode, another season of Crossover Commerce. Take care, everyone.